Welcome back to Sasquatch Watch Radio tonight. We are heading deep into the rugged timber of the Pacific Northwest with our guest, Tristan Yolton. Our guest tonight has spent over a decade tracking the unexplained in the dense wilderness of Washington state, from the remote ridges of Bumping Lake to the cutting edge of field audio analysis. He's dedicated to capturing the true sounds of the forest. And now, your host of Sasquatch Watch Radio, Gary Kendrick.
Hey guys, how are you all? Monday night, July the 13th, man, it has went by really quick. Me and my wife have just returned from Isle of Palm, South Carolina on our little vacation. Had a great time. Weather was hot. We had a heat index of 117 degrees. So I hope everybody's out there staying hydrated. Take care of yourselves. You know, it's rough. Our guest tonight, we got a great guest. We got Mr. Tristan Yolton from Washington State. So we'll go ahead and bring him on and let's get started.
Hi, Gary.
Oh, Tristan.
Thanks for having me on, man.
How are you, brother?
I'm doing good.
Hey, sweet. Glad to have you on, pal. Glad to have
Great
you on.
to
We
be
got a
here.
little bit of a lag. I guess it takes a while to get, from the mountains of Southwest Virginia to the mountains of Washington State. So we'll try our best.
Well, we'll get through it, man. We'll get through it.
Oh, yeah, no question. No question. So I'm going to ask you right off the bat, brother, we're going to get deep into it right from the get-go. What got you started into Sasquatch? What piqued your interest?
Well, originally, I've always been interested in dinosaurs and monsters and Godzilla and prehistoric things. And growing up, I used to watch all those Bigfoot documentaries that used to come on TV, like The Mysterious Monsters with Peter Graves and In Search of Bigfoot with Robert W. Morgan, and In Search of with Leonard Nimoy. Like a lot of those documentaries, a lot of those TV shows were on TV when I was growing up, so I happened to catch them, and it really piqued my interest because like I said, I'm really into prehistoric things, and I figured Sasquatch kind of sounded like a prehistoric creature. So that really got me interested in the subject. And so, as well as watching the documentaries on TV, I'd go to the library and check out a whole bunch of library books and read up about Bigfoot. And I even, I had Bigfoot school projects. Like I was really into Bigfoot growing up and in school. But the thing is, I was never really interested in looking for Bigfoot. I just had a fascination with it because I figured there was enough people out there looking for Bigfoot at the time. So I feel like, I don't think I would make much of a difference if I got if I started researching, because it seemed like everybody else was researching them out there. So yeah, I just had an interest and fascination with the subject, but I never had an interest to search for it, to actually research for it. And, that all changed in February 2015, when my father used to go to work at 4:00 in the morning, and one morning he took the trash out, and behind the house there's a forested hill over here behind the house, and there's nobody up there. I mean, it's used to be owned by Weyerhaeuser, a logging company up in there, and so they didn't want anybody going up in there. And when my dad was taking the trash out one morning, he heard two distinct whoops coming up from that hill from one opposite directions, like one whoop and then another whoop answered it. And he immediately recognized that whoop because he listened to the Sierra sounds. And he told me those whoops that he heard on the Sierra sounds are exactly what he heard up on the hill. So the funny thing is, so he didn't tell my mother and I about this until like a few weeks later or so, when we were watching a Bigfoot show. It might have been Finding Bigfoot, but he didn't tell us right away that he heard those whoops. He had to watch a Bigfoot show in order for him to remember that and then tell us. But once he told us, my mother and I were like, oh crap, we got to get up there. And my mom was watching, she watched Barb Shoop videos where Barb Shoop, I don't know if you know who she is, but she's a researcher here in Washington, and she would gift Bigfoot.
Yes,
she would gift Bigfoot peanut butter jars. And that's where my mother got the idea to gift a peanut butter jar up on the hill up here. And so she and I went up on the hill up here, and we left the peanut butter jar, a new one, And she said that she unscrewed the lid a little bit, not totally, but like just, just lightly opened the lid, unscrewed the lid on it to make it loose. And she left that on a log. And we also had these peanut butter crackers, the peanut butter crackers, the Keebler peanut butter crackers, like in the plastic that you get. We had a thing of those, and we brought those up there with the peanut butter jar. And where we put this stuff was by a creek up there. There's a creek that runs along the hill. And my theory was, if it's Sasquatch, so they're probably following the creek along that hill up there. And so we put it. She put the peanut butter jar on this log up on the creek up there, along the peanut butter crackers. And I had an old audio recorder. I don't know if I still have it here. Here it is. I had this old. I have this. This is the recorder, but I had this Olympus, and it's not a USB Olympus recorder. You can't easily put it on a computer. I actually had to record off of this in order to get the audio off of this to another recorder. But I put this up there on a stump. I strapped a bungee cord with this on a stump, and I left it up there by the creek overnight. And then the next morning, when my mother and I went back up there, the peanut butter jar was opened and the lid was on the ground, and it looked like there was inside the peanut butter jar. It looked like there was possible domal ridges and fingerprints inside of it. And it looked like a whole thing of peanut butter was scooped out of there. Like somebody put its hand in there and went like this. It scooped a whole bunch of butter out. So, like I said, and there's also like dermal ridges, like fingerprints on the insides of it. And the peanut butter crackers were gone. They were neatly opened. They weren't ripped open like maybe a bear or a raccoon would do. And I think it went like this and just kind of, I think it went like this and ate the peanut butter crackers that way. And they left the wrapper there, and the recorder looked totally fine to me. I didn't see any scratch marks or teeth marks or anything on it, so I didn't think anything messed with it. So I grabbed that from the stump that I strapped it to with the bungee cord, and we all went home, and I listened to that audio recorder with headphones for. Thankfully, I didn't have to listen to the whole thing, but apparently after an hour from when my mother and I left that previous night, because it was getting dark out by the time when we left that peanut butter jar out. But an hour afterwards, something came in, and you can hear it on the audio. The first thing you hear is a really weird humming sound. It's like a weird frequency sound. I can't explain it. I've talked about this on Doug Hychek's show, and he's been getting recordings from people from all over the country with this weird buzz, this humming sound that people are encountering when they're near Bigfoot, and they've actually captured it on their audio recorders too. But it's a weird. The first thing you hear on mine is like a weird buzzing, humming sound, and then you hear this thing. It sounds like it's eating the peanut butter. It sounds like it's eating the peanut butter crackers, and it's eating them. And then all of a sudden, it makes a huge growl, a grunt, like "Roo!" You can hear that. And I think it sees my recorder, and it might have even seen the light on it because I had a little amber light on it. And then after it does that, you hear it right at the recorder, and it sounds like it's fumbling with the recorder and growling and also making that humming sound at the same time. And it does that for a few seconds, and then it just stops. Everything stops, and you don't hear anything else. And like I said, there was no scratch marks, there's no teeth marks on the recorder. So I don't know what did it. I mean, I thought if it would be a bear or even a raccoon that they would scratch the hell out of it. But I mean, like you see here, man, there's no teeth marks or scratch marks anywhere on this thing. It looks perfectly fine. So that really stumped me. I don't know what did it. And I don't know what animal that was, but it's the weirdest thing I've ever heard, and I can't explain that humming sound. And
that humming sound,
yeah,
it's been talked about in the Bigfoot world for a long time. A lot of researchers talk about it. A lot of people have encountered that. Ray Mosley has a question here about it, and I'll bring that up real quick for everybody to see. Ray says, "Are you able to replicate the sound outside of the encounter?
I can't replicate it. It's in the 40 hertz range apparently, from what people have analyzed and told me about it. It's in the 40 hertz range, so it's pretty low. The closest thing that it sounds like is like maybe a hummingbird, but it's not. I mean, people don't say that's what it is, but that's the closest thing to it. I can't personally replicate it. No, I would need like a hummingbird or something to do something like, to replicate it. But I can't replicate it. It's a real low humming sound. I mean, I don't know the best way to describe it. It sounds like a feedback, like a humming feedback, electronic feedback kind of a sound. Yep. Maybe it's infrasound, maybe it's something similar to infrasound that they can do. I don't know. I mean, I don't think it was a hummingbird, especially when you hear it. I mean, you hear it at the same time it's growling, so it's definitely not a hummingbird because you hear it while it's you hear that at the same time as it's growling. So
yeah,
I'm just saying
hummingbirds are not usually attracted to peanut butter either.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. There's nothing around there for a hummingbird to like. So yeah, I don't know.
Now I have to be 100% honest with you, Tristan. If I am going through the woods and I see a bottle of Jif peanut butter nailed to a tree, I'm probably going to get me some. Okay, that's like my peanut butter is my thing. So Bigfoot is me and Bigfoot have that one thing in common. So
sure. I love peanut butter too, man. Like I love it. Yeah, I can't resist that.
And that's it. My dad's brother was a big deer hunter, and it was funny. He didn't always necessarily. He was not a legal beagle when it come to his deer hunting, and I've seen him put peanut butter jars on trees to attract deer. But he would nail the lid to the tree and cut the end of the jar out. Okay, now you got something that's got a lid on it, something you're going to have hands to take that lid off.
Right.
And then, heck, like you said, with the hand going inside of it,
that's what it
looks that really narrows down what it could be.
Yeah. And I know raccoons could probably do that too. They could probably unscrew lids. But again, like when you look inside the jar, and I had pictures of it in those folders, but I mean, if you look at it, it looks like possible dermal ridges. And some people speculated those butter knife swipes, and no, it was a new jar. We'd never used that jar before. So unless somebody's walking around in the woods with a freaking butter knife with them, I don't think that's what those are. It looks like dermal ridges to me. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the humming sound, like what the hell is a humming sound? I mean, what is that? I've never heard that before.
And we just had
normal.
All right, I don't have my glasses on here. I'm gonna try this one. John Melland said one lady said it was a whining sound, flat rock thrown, or a shot from a slingshot. That kind of just to be honest with you, as somebody who has been shot at, okay, I'm an old Marine. I was a former Marine, and I have been shot at. And that the first time I had a bullet go by my head, that whizzing sound was pretty incredible. I thought it was a bug, just to be honest with you. I thought a bug. So, yeah, it's unmistakable, but I know exactly what they're talking about. That humming, it's a hum. I know exactly what you're talking about. I think actually even some native groups, I know the Australian Aborigines use what they call a bull roar, which is a flat piece of wood on a string, and they twist it, and it makes a humming sound. So that's pretty interesting.
Well, I've never heard that.
That's pretty interesting.
Wow.
Yeah. So in your part of Washington State, tell us a little bit about the terrain and what makes this area such a good spot for Sasquatch.
Well, I mean, it's around me. It's very mountainous. We have a pretty. I mean, I am surrounded by mountains out here. There's a lot of logging that happens way out in the backwoods over here. I mean, there's like I said, it used to be owned by a warehouse, and now it's owned by another company named Global Campbell, which they've been logging the hell out of it up here. And that's the other thing I want to mention too. Like a year after this event happened up here on the hill, somebody came in and just logged the whole place up here. And it was years ago, and it's finally been growing back, but they decimated it, this area where the creek is and everything. It's been decimated, and I actually think that might have, if this was a Bigfoot, I think this disrupted their path, their route. That's what I was trying to say. I think it disrupted their routes up here and probably moved everything way back because they've just been logging the heck out of this forest up here. But I'm surrounded by mountains out here. I'm near the Cascades of Washington. So there's a lot of mountains, a lot of forests. Like you just look out my window, I'm just surrounded by forests out here. So, for people to say there's no possibility of Bigfoot in these kind of areas, I just say, well, just look outside and tell me that there's no possibility of something living out there. Because like people have gotten lost out here. People have been missing out here. I mean, it's really dense and it's really thick of forest. It's crazy out here in Washington State. So, I mean, the possibility is there, man. I think it's possible that there could be Sasquatch in these forests out here. Absolutely. So it doesn't surprise me. But what does surprise me? But just what does surprise me though is like I've been living here for over 40 years, and I never thought about searching for Bigfoot around me, just like right over here. You know what I mean? Because here we are. I'm in a neighborhood down below here, and I have these forests up around me, and I never thought about could there be Bigfoot right here in my backyard, literally. So that's just crazy to me that here I am living in a suburban neighborhood down here, and there could be Bigfoot right over here across the road in the woods. So that's just crazy to me to think about, because I've had such a fascination with this subject for so long. And I never thought about actually researching up here until that event with my dad hearing the whoops happen. Like, whoa, right there. That's crazy. So close to you.
Well, now you mentioned logging, and I'll just be honest with you. I'm an old hunter, and I actually like to hunt places that have been logged and pretty well logged out. You know what I'm saying? Because after they get done logging it, you've got so much sunlight that comes into these areas, and it's an incredible place because you have the ecosystem just takes over. You have blackberries, raspberries, all kinds of things that just spring up and creates a tremendous amount of natural food for deer and everything else. And, everything that lives has to eat. So therefore they come into these areas. And like I said, there's fresh berries, and I'm a firm believer that Sasquatch is an omnivore. So it's looking for, four-legged ungulates and things like that. So that would be a perfect place for it to be.
Yeah, we have herds of elk up here. We got deer. We got deer that come to our house. They actually come down this hill. That was the forest up here. They actually come down. We actually give them apples down here. Yeah, we got deer walking around our neighborhood. We got mountain lion, cougar out here. We got black bear. Black bears all over the place. But we got, like I mentioned, we got herds of elk out here. So, and they go up and down these mountains. So I think the Sasquatch follow them up and down. And we got rivers and lakes and creeks all over the place out here. So it's perfect habitat for them. They can, and like I said, there's high places. So the Sasquatch can go up in these high places and not even be detected. They just roam freely, honestly, without anybody running into them, especially up here on the hill at night. Nobody's up there at night. So they just feel like they could just walk right through and not even have to worry about running into anybody.
Yeah.
So,
and two, animals are really resilient to start with. Like when I grew up in this county, there were no deer in this county. It had been completely hunted out. From the time that I was born until I was 18 years old, and I joined the Marines and I left, I saw one deer, and it was a fawn. So obviously there had to be a buck and a doe somewhere, but I never saw them. I only saw that one fawn until I was 18 years old. Now, I had joined the Marines, And I came back 5 years later. And when I came back, the population of deer had exploded here. They did reintroduce deer here, and it had exploded. And they actually had opened up their very first hunting season that they had in several years here. And now the biggest deer that you see are in town limits. They're not even in the national forest or anything anymore. They're actually in town limits, picking out of the yards and picking out of people's gardens. And Virginia is new with elk. We've got our elk project going on here in Virginia, which is actually in the next county over from where I live at, in Buchanan County. And we have bleed over. We've had several elk that have come in to our county, and it's kind of funny. My dad complains, he lives in town limits. So my dad complains about the deer digging up his tulips and eating the bulbs and everything else out of them. And they just got a picture of two young bull elks right below his house. And I told him, I said, well, Dad, if you thought the deer were bad, you don't stand a chance, pal.
Yeah, for sure, man, for sure.
Yeah. They're fixing to clean you out. But it's really interesting areas, especially, like I said, after the logging, so much food that comes in, and everything just flocks to those areas. And, people think automatically, when they're logged out, it's just completely decimated and everything else. Probably within less than a year, that place, it just explodes with stuff. And man, that is like a prime area to find anything. Like I said, the elk, the deer, bears, everything's in there. And I'm a firm believer that bear and Sasquatch kind of share the same type of habitat. I think they're looking for the same food sources and things like that. In your experience, what do you kind of think Sasquatch is? What does Tristan Yolton think Sasquatch is?
Well, the thing is, like, I've never had a paranormal experience with Bigfoot, so I'm open to the paranormal side of things, but I haven't experienced it. So right now I'm thinking scientifically, like, I'm thinking Bigfoot might be its own species, maybe on its own branch, next to humans. I don't think it's a type of human. I think maybe it's its own species, something we've never. I mean, we don't really have a follower. I mean, if we're not thinking it's like Gigantopithecus, I think maybe it's its own line. It's its own species. So I think I like the term that Meldrum used to say, relic hominid. I like that term. But I personally don't think it's part of us. I think it's its own thing. And I think it's been here for a long time, and it's probably been evolving in its own way, just like our early ancestors were evolving, like the Australopithecus and all those. So I think it's its own species evolving in that sort of direction. So maybe it's in its Australopithecus, phase right now, and maybe it's evolving to something higher up, kind of like maybe to what we become. I don't know. Maybe it's evolving into something else. But I just like that. I just like that prehistoric idea that this is something prehistoric, and it's been here for many, many years, surviving on its own, like peacefully with nature. And we've been chasing this thing for so many years, man. We still we haven't discovered it. I mean, there's been people have seen it and everything, but we don't have a body. We don't have anything scientific physically, but people see it, and we collect data and evidence of something going on out there. So I just like the idea of it being a prehistoric being, if you want to call it a being, that's just living freely for all these years and continues to do so without us, discovering it scientifically. I kind of like that. I kind of like that we haven't really discovered it really. That people see it and they have experiences with it, but we haven't categorized it. So it's kind of fun to come up with theories of what it could be. And that's what I personally think I think it is. I think it's a prehistoric species of a being. Not so much maybe a humanoid, but something maybe similar. It's just doing it's on its own path. It's just evolving on its own line. So That's how I view it. I mean, that's
I have to be honest with you. I'm an animal guy myself. I think it's some type of terrestrial animal. I've never had any paranormal experience with it myself. Everything that's happened to me, and that's what I say. I can only base my theories and things like that off of my own research and my own experiences.
right.
And that's one of the things that I really like about this show is I am open to what everybody wants to talk about. Okay. I had one lady on she was kind of an old Star Wars buff like me. I'm a big Star Wars guy. And she said that she thought that they might be extraterrestrial or interdimensional. And I knew she was big into Star Wars. I said, so do you think they have their own homeworld like Kashyyyk somewhere, which is the Wookiee homeworld? It completely blew her away. She's like, oh my God, you're a Star Wars guy. I'm like, yeah, but the thing about it is we need to be open and listen to everybody's theories because we don't have any hardcore evidence right now. We have a lot of circumstantial evidence, but we don't have any hardcore evidence. And I like to hear young guys like you talk about. I like to be scientific about it. That's what we need to do. That's what we have to do in order to prove the existence of this animal. And just my own personal take on it. I'll give you my own personal take on it. I'm stuck between a couple of things. I think that it might be some type of undiscovered ape. I think that it might be some type of relic hominid, some type of pre-human, or possibly even some type of pre-human human hybrid. Way back in the day, the prehistoric thing that you talked about, man, that is like dead on in my own personal opinion. Kathy Strain, I don't know if you're aware of Kathy Strain.
Yes.
Her hairy man carving that they found, they think that may be like 10,000 years old.
Right.
I mean, that's back there, dude. So, I mean, if they were seeing it then and carving it then, it's bound to have been around for a long time. I don't, and that's something I speak about on the show quite a bit too, is one of the things that kind of stumps me as far as it being, a lot of people say, oh, well, they're people, they're human. I don't see human intelligence with it. I see a great deal of animal intelligence. But human intelligence, I don't see any tool use. I don't see them making stone points, or I don't see them like, they might be using something as a tool, but they're not fashioning something specifically for a tool. That's tool usage. That's tool making. And I don't see that with any encounters really. So that kind of brings me back to maybe it's some type of ape. So, like I said, it's all conjecture until it may very well be, some kind of terrestrial animal. It could be something from a different planet. It could be some kind of hairy, happy forest hippie. I don't know. We're just kind of.
And that's a fun thing about it. Like, it could really be anything. So I think it's best for people to keep their minds open to everything, every possibility.
Yeah.
But you can still have their own, like, if you want to research scientifically, you can do that while maybe being open-minded to everything else. But
exactly.
So when you're talking about the intelligence thing, I think it's more of a survival intelligence with them. In terms of them, I think they are smarter than us in that way, because obviously we don't have a body. We don't have one captured alive. So they do have a survival instinct intelligence that's, I think, higher than ours, because we're not living out in the woods like they have been for eons and millions of years, and knowing and having that survival instinct with them. I think, we're on our cell phones now. I mean, it's like we're so dependent on technology and everything. We're not living like that, like they have been. So, and that's the other thing too. Like, if you put a camera out there, they're going to see that, because that's like, it's like putting a camera in your house and you're like, whoa, where did that come from? Like, who put that there? They're going to recognize something different in their environment. So they're going to evade that, avoid it, because they know it didn't come from them. So I'm just saying, like, I think they just know their environment so freaking well that they could just navigate around it and navigate around us and live freely undetected, or even when they are detected, I'm sure. I mean, they're seen, but like we still don't have a body. We still don't have a skeleton. So, and nobody's captured one and brought one in yet after all these years. So there's a instinctual survival intelligence that they have that we apparently don't have or we can't match. They're always one step ahead of us. You know, we're always finding their footprints, but we're not really finding the one that's making those footprints. You know, we're always like one step behind them. So, in a way, I kind of like it that way because it keeps us going, and it keeps this whole thing going. And I think I like the mystery of it too. So, but I've never had a face-to-face encounter like you know that's something I want to have. I do want to see one like that. So,
and I'll tell you this, that's like a lot of researchers that I know, that's like their goal. Okay, I want this, I want that, I want to see it, I want to be this close to it, I want this. And I'm gonna be honest with you, like I said, my personal encounter was really close, probably about 3.5 feet, from where I was sitting at. And I'm just gonna be 100% honest with you. It really brings you way down on the level of what you think you are when you see something this huge. And I mean, that's the only way I can tell you. It's huge. Huge. The Incredible Hulk with hair is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And, I fully understand that people are like, oh, we can catch one. That's something that I just don't know about. Okay. I'm just going to be honest with you. You got something with that kind of muscle mass. I don't know how. I don't know how. I don't know what kind of ropes you're going to use, chain you're going to use, what kind of net you're going to make. It's really interesting. And two, yeah. I'm gonna be honest with you.
Yeah.
When I had my encounter, I like froze, which is kind of rare for me. But I like froze. All I can do is just sit there and watch it. And the whole time that I'm watching it, I'm rolling through my mental Rolodex. Okay, what is this? What is this? What is this? This is not a bear. This is not a deer. This is not this. This is not that. This is not this. And it's the entire time that this thing is moving in front of me and I'm watching it and I'm scrolling through my head trying to think of what it is. Could I have picked a cell phone up and maybe got a photo of it? Maybe. At the time, I couldn't move. I was just thinking, holy cow, well, look at this. Holy. What are you going to do? And exactly. That is the thing as a witness that people are, why didn't you get a picture of it? I couldn't. I couldn't. And the guy that was with me, I'll say this, there's like two reactions whenever you have a Sasquatch encounter. You have intense curiosity, which is what I had. Okay, I grew up in the 70s and 80s. I watched all the In Search Of, like you talked about, and all that stuff. And I mean, I burned it down. I loved that stuff. So I always thought it was real. But until I had my encounter, I thought that was something that you guys out west had to deal with, not us.
Yeah.
So, and when it happened, like I said, there's two responses. The intense curiosity, that was me. Okay, I want to know everything that I can know about this thing now because I always thought it was real and I just saw one. So I know it's real. Now I want to know everything that I can know about it. Now, the guy that was with me had the polar opposite response. And it's a stress response. That's the whole thing. He does not want to talk about it. When it happened, I stopped the vehicle. I said, hey, man, did you see that? And he's like, I didn't see nothing. I said, dude, I will stop this vehicle and get out. Did you see something? He said, I saw something. I don't want to talk about it. That was 20 years ago, and he still really doesn't talk about it.
Yeah.
And that's fine. Everybody has their own reaction to it. And I think that's the thing, unless you are 100% in the game. Okay, I'm here to get photos of Sasquatch. You're not going to be able to do it. You are not going to be able to do it.
Right.
And I don't think it's anything mystical or anything like that. I think that's just kind of human nature. And a point, too, that I kind of wanted to bring up was you talked about how Sasquatch has these survival skills that humans don't have. And that's the thing. We've had them, but we've become so dependent upon technology now that we've lost that sense. And that's, I kind of laugh with my co-producer about this. He does the computer work because I can't. I have to be honest with you. I am not tech savvy. I'm lucky to be able to do what we're doing right now. I'm pretty bad shape when it comes to computer work. But, I can start a fire with a couple of rocks. I can tell you how to purify water in the wild. I can do all this stuff because I know how to do it. It was something that, I learned the time that when I was young up until now, So that's something that, you can't sit on your couch and watch videos about Sasquatch and then get up off your couch tomorrow and expect to hike 40 miles up into the top of the Cascade Mountains and find Bigfoot.
Exactly.
Okay?
Yep.
You are going to die if you do that. Straight up, you are going to die.
Yep.
It's
for sure.
It's something that you have to be physically fit to do. You have to be knowledgeable to do and things like that. And I think we talked about this on the show a couple times too, the missing 411. I think there's a certain percentage of those people that turn up missing in these national parks and things like that might be victims of a Sasquatch or maybe kidnapped by us. I don't think it's as big a number as, they kind of want to say that it is.
Right. Yeah.
So that's an interesting take. Like I said, you got to be ready. You've got to be ready. Exactly. Tristan, we're kind of at the halfway point here, and I kind of got a little surprise for you that we do for all of our guests.
Okay.
And I know you've actually been in our chat before.
Yes.
So as you know, we make a song for all of our guests, and we have AI make you a song.
Oh, hell.
So I'm going to play you a song for you right now. So are you ready?
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I can't.
Let's do it. Come on now.
Down in the shadow of the tall timberline, where the cell phone dies and the stars don't shine, there's a man with a tape deck out in the cold, chasing a story that's 1,000 years old. Out past the pavement where the deep rivers run, Tristan's out walking when the setting of the sun leaves a chill in the valley, a mist on the brakes, up in the wilderness of old Bumpin' Lake. And he's listening close for a sound in the night, beyond the red glow the campfire light, a crack of a branch, a heavy set stride, where the giants of the Pacific Northwest hide. Yeah, the world calls it crazy, but he knows what he heard. It's a cry in the canyon that ain't no bird. Started back in 15, right by the house, when a sound shook the ridge and silenced the grouse. Not a growl, not a scream, but a heavy timbered whoop that throw any skeptic right out of the loop. Now he packs up the gear and he hits the rough track with a pack on his shoulders and the wind at his back, looking for a footprint pressed in the clay before the rain comes and washes it away. And he's listening close for a sound in the night, beyond the red glow of the campfire light. A crack of a branch, a heavy set stride, where the giants of the Pacific Northwest hide. Yeah, the world calls it crazy, but he knows what he heard. It's a cry in the canyon that ain't no bird. He doesn't need a crowd, he doesn't need praise, just the truth and the static of the tape as it plays, an echo from the ridge that the high wind carries down, far away from the noise of a concrete town. Just a lone microphone pointing up at the peak, waiting for the shadows of the forest to speak. Yeah, Tristan's out there listening underneath the pines.
I love it, man. Thank you. I gotta get a copy of that.
Oh yeah,
That was
we can get
great.
it sent to you email.
I appreciate that, man.
Man, that was awesome.
That was fantastic.
I know
Thank
you live in the Pacific Northwest, but that had a whole lot of that dirty South grit to it. That was
Yeah.
nice.
Sounded really good,
That was
man. I
nice.
loved it. Thank you. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. But yeah, Bumping Lake,
we
man.
had-
I'm gonna be going back up there pretty soon. To Bumping Lake. Do you want me to talk about that real quick? Bumping Lake?
Sure, go ahead. Well,
Okay.
wait a minute. Before we get into that, we
Sure.
had one question from a viewer here. Ray says, I know the subject is move on, but how long did that 40 hertz buzz last? And was it constant or was it broken up with rapid tapping sounds?
So at the beginning of the recording, it goes on for like a split second, like boom, and then you kind of hear it again about another second later. It kind of builds, it goes and then it dissipates. I would say it's broken up, but then when the thing comes over to the recorder and starts growling and fumbling with the recorder, that you hear that humming sound with the growling constantly for like, maybe a few seconds late, as that goes on for a few seconds. It's kind of constant when it's close to the recorder. But no, it's not a constant like the whole time. It's not like constant, but it comes in like kind of waves. Like it comes in and then it goes away and it comes back again. At least on my recording, that's how it is.
Mhm.
But on other people's recordings who've got the hum, like there was somebody who caught a hum recording up at Bumping Lake actually, and it's actually more constant on their recording. And actually, one of the guys apparently said that they felt a sense of euphoria when that humming was going on for them when they were around it. And I wasn't around the humming when this occurred. I was back home and that was just on the recorder. So I've never experienced the humming in person, but like people have said, they experienced a euphoric kind of a sense when they're around that. So maybe there's some kind of infrasound thing going on there. Like, like maybe if it was to say if Bigfoot is hunting deer, for example, maybe they use like an infrasound type vibration or sound to kind of make them stop in their tracks, and then maybe Bigfoot can come up behind him and grab them or something. That's just a thought. I mean, if people are feeling a certain way when they hear this and feel it, maybe there's something to that. But that's just a thought. I'm not saying that's what's happening or what's going on.
And you mentioned too, looking at it scientifically, and when you use the scientific method, one of the biggest things in the scientific method is it repeatable?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this humming sound, is 100% repeatable because you hear it time and time again from these Bigfoot encounters, this crazy humming sound. And I'm just going to be honest with you too, just thinking about it. I was sitting here thinking about it, people feeling this euphoric feeling. I have to be honest with you. Like, if you're eating something that's, man, it's really, really good. It just kind of, man, it's really hitting. I mean, it's really good. People will hum a little bit. So that could be something too. Hey, peanut butter's a pretty special treat.
Right. Well, they've also, I think Doug Kajak called it the purr, or somebody called it the purr.
Yeah.
So maybe kind of like what you're talking about. It was enjoying the peanut butter, so it was making like a purr, a content kind of a sound. So to what you're just saying, yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
that makes a lot of sense.
I hadn't thought about that until you mentioned that, the euphoric sound. I was like, boy, that peanut butter must have been hitting. And I was like, hey, wait a minute now. That might work.
I would probably be humming too, man, if I'm eating peanut butter because I love it. So yeah. I'm probably making that sound too. I'm not even aware of it. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, my wife
hurts. Maybe I can't even myself can't even hear it.
My wife gets after me whenever I'm eating, and like I said, something's good. I'll hum or something like that. I'm like,
Right.
And she's like, exactly. Do you know how much noise you're making while you're eating? I was like, no, I don't even care. It's good. Tell us a little bit about Bumping Lake. I'm curious.
Yeah. So after the thing with the peanut butter jar up here, we actually contacted Barb Shoup, and because we wanted to go to different areas around Washington State, and we liked her gifting, what she's done with her gifting, and she actually goes around Washington State, and she actually took us on a camp out up at Bumping Lake, which is near Mount Rainier, and it's about 2,000 feet up in elevation. It's actually pretty high up there. And I don't have the best lungs, so like air quality is can be a problem for me when it's in high elevations. But anyway, it's Bumping Lake's about 3,000 feet up. It's a well-known. I mean, a lot of people go there during the summer. I'm sure there's a lot of people there now because it's a big ass lake. A lot of families go there, but there's also primitive camp spots at Bumping Lake, and that's where Barb took us to. Were a couple of primitive camp spots out there. One that they call Rock Camp, another is called California Camp, and California Camp was called that because Cliff Brockman and Bobo were there, and Bart Catino was there, and Bart Catino actually captured some thermal footage at California Camp. And why they call it California Camp is because of Bobo, because he's from California, so they call it a California Camp there. So Barb was taking us up to these spots, and we actually found in October 2015, she took us up there, and we found these, I don't know if it's Bigfoot, but we found these trackways along the lake, these humanoid looking footprints. And this was in October, and it gets cold up there in October, man. She had a dog named Gabby, and she distinctly said like Gabby's water dish was all iced up in the morning, so it was really cold out there. And I don't know who's walking barefoot out there in October, but we found like these 13-inch, 12-inch, and smaller footprints walking along the lake there at Bumping Lake. And I don't know if it's human or not. I don't know if it's Bigfoot. I don't know if they're old prints, but like I said, I would not be walking barefoot in that kind of weather and during those temperatures. It was crazy cold up there, especially at 3,000 feet. But we've camped up there in these primitive spots, like I was just talking about Rock Camp, California Camp, and at Rock Camp, there's a hill, kind of like a trail that goes up this forested hill behind camp, which is right above the campfire, and it's kind of hard to explain, but I used to put the recorder up on this hill behind camp, because I think the Sasquatch are coming down and we're watching people from the hill looking down at our campfire and our campsites. So I was putting up these Tascam recorders. Let's see if I think I got one here. So I was putting up Tascam recorders up on the hill there, and I was capturing these weird language. I guess that's what you want to call it. This weird talking and chattering going on up there on the hill. In fact, there's like a couple of the clips I have. It sounds like possible singing, and it definitely wasn't us, man. There's nobody camped behind us. It's all woods up in there, and we were all accounted for in camp. So I can't explain it, but the language sounds like a primitive native type language. It's definitely not, to me, it doesn't sound English or anything that we would recognize. And so that was going on up there at Rock Camp. And then at California Camp, this is a big event. I'll talk about that. In July 18th, 2020 at 2 a.m. at California Camp, my mother and I were sleeping in a tent all alone. There was nobody else around us. And at 2 o'clock in the morning, I heard I recognized it. It was like a whoop howl sounding off, I think it was a male, a really loud whoop howl came from behind us, like back towards the lake area. And it's kind of hard to explain, but like Bumpy Lake is surrounded by these mountains. There's a mountain range there called Nelson Ridge. And so it's like a big bowl in there. So like sound carries and travels, and it's like a big. I've described this as like it's like being at the loudest concert you've ever been to, because that's what it sounded like. It was like the loudest concert I've ever been to. So this whoop howl sounded off, and then all of a sudden, I think it was like females and maybe juveniles chiming in right afterward, and it became like a chorus, and it was just the craziest thing to listen to, man. It's really hard to describe, but like, and thankfully I got this on audio, but this went on for like almost a half hour nonstop, with barely any breaks in between. And I just sat there in my tent listening to this because I just couldn't believe it. I didn't want to get up and try to look to see what was making it. I just wanted to sit there and listen to it. And unfortunately, my mother didn't have the best hearing, and she didn't even have any hearing aids, unfortunately. So she couldn't. To my surprise, she couldn't hear what I was hearing, which was the loudest thing I've ever heard in my life. And even on the recording, you can hear me asking her, "Can you hear this? Can you hear this?" And she said, "You can hear her say no," which was really sad and unfortunate because she wanted me to get her up if I heard something, and I did. But unfortunately, she couldn't hear what I was hearing. But it was amazing what I was hearing, man. I've never heard anything like it. The best thing.
That was one of the audios that you sent me, wasn't it?
Yeah. The Bumping Lake chorus. It's in the audio so it's in the audio files. It's called Bumping Lake chorus audio. You can try.
Let me try to see if I can play it. Let me see if I can play it on my phone and let everybody listen to it.
I would try playing Bumpy Lake chorus from Search for Sabe, the second file. That's like a louder clip of it. It's a more amplified clip of it. If you could play that, that'll be great, because that's exactly what I heard. I mean, that kind of volume.
Okay, I'm gonna try again.
Okay. I can't hear it on my end. Well, I can't hear it on my end. I don't know if anybody else can.
I can't tell if that's coming through or not, if anybody can hear it or not.
Yeah, I couldn't hear it on my end. You want me to try playing it on my end and see if it, I don't know.
Yeah, you can try that.
Okay.
I'll just be honest. You can hear the initial, like you said, the whoop call or whatever.
Right.
And it's loud. And then it kind of fades, and then, man, it just explodes. Just boom. It almost like overwhelms the recorder.
Yeah.
And then you can hear, and this is what I think is interesting about it. At one point, you can hear like a response, but it's like another one is making another call over top of that one. So you've got like two calls at the same time that are going on from different directions.
Right.
And one is like, it's like a whoop call, but the other one, I don't even know how to describe it. It's kind of like a, woo. So I don't know. It's interesting. If we could, I wish I could get it to download,
You want me to try playing? You want me to try playing on my end? I don't know if it's going to come through.
Try to play it. Let's see if we can hear it on your end.
All right.
No.
You can't hear it?
No, I'm not getting anything come through. I'm sorry, guys. I'm just going to tell you the recording is nice. It is a good recording because it's not just one call. It is several calls at one time. No, I still can't hear anything.
Oh, okay. I thought that would I thought that would get it more, but I guess not.
Anyway, quick.
But that went on for like a half hour. That went on for like a half hour, man. That was just crazy. And the only thing I could say about it is if it was a person, the only thing I can think of what it was is either possibly a Bigfoot or somebody out there was call blasting that for a half hour somehow, and I don't know where they got those sounds to do that. That's the only two possibilities that I have of what that could be. Because I can't rule out a person because I didn't see what made these sounds. But again, where is a person going to be? Where can they actually make those sounds and how? I mean, would they for a half hour even? Like, why would they do that at 2:00 in the morning for a half hour nonstop? They weren't even stopping for like a response. It just kept going and going. So I'm just trying to rule out a human.
I wish I could play it too. That's the thing about the recording is it is not one sound. Okay, it's not one sound. And you can tell that it is multiple individuals making sounds at the same time.
Absolutely.
We've got a question here from one of our guests.
Sure.
You may know this guy, Mr. Thomas Steinberg.
Absolutely.
Up in Canada. Love Thomas, great dude. Tristan, have you heard the Lumi recording of 1975?
I'm not familiar with Lumi. I mean, I might have heard it, but I'm not familiar with that name. I heard the Lumi recordings. I'm not sure. The only thing I want to mention, it kind of sounded, that whoop howl sounded like the Snohomish recordings. I'm sure Thomas knows what the Snohomish recordings from 1976. I think it was from 76. It was from the 1970s here in Washington. Snohomish is in Washington State here. And there's somebody that was getting recordings up at a rock pit in Snohomish, like on consecutive nights. And a couple of those recordings sound very similar in terms of that whoop howl, that first thing that you hear. Mm-hmm. Dead on, man. That's when I said I recognize that sound, that's exactly what I heard on my audio. So I just thought that was an interesting, also known as the Kenny Cooper recordings. I don't know if I heard those, Thomas. I might have. I don't know. Where were those taken? I need to know where those were taken. I'll have to talk to
Thomas. Is a wealth of information.
Yeah, man, he's amazing. Thomas is amazing. He's got so much stuff.
Yeah, and it's great because he got to work with the top 5, back in the day, the original guys,
right.
Ray Hendon and all of it, and that's great. I mean, that's an incredible. We had another question from another one of our guests here, and I'm trying to find it if I can.
Okay.
Jay Fritz.
Oh, Tristan. Yeah, Jay Fritz. Yes.
Yeah, love Jay. I've had Jay on the show too. He come in one night and just spoke about his personal encounter.
Yeah.
Tristan, have you ever heard any grunts, teeth, or jaw clacking?
I've never heard the teeth clacking. I did hear, so I was on a night walk with Barb Shoop and a couple other people. We actually went to a Bigfoot conference near Ocean Shores. There's Ocean Shores is right by the coast over here in Washington State. And we were in an area that's had Bigfoot activity at Ocean Shores is known. We were talking about deer earlier. Ocean Shores has a crap ton of deer running around the neighborhoods and everything in people's backyards. And they think that draws in Bigfoot around their neighborhoods. And I know people have seen Bigfoot there. They claim they've seen Bigfoot. There's been actually people finding deer kills there in their backyards. But we were on a night walk one night in a neighborhood, and we came close to a house that's had reported activity. And I kid you not, man, like across the street from us, like in this they have these big bushes there at Ocean Shores. And I swear I heard the same type of growl from the Sierra Sounds, like that low guttural. I heard that coming right from one of those big bushes right across from us. And it sounded just like that, dude. And we all heard it. Barb heard it. Like we were actually all kind of freaked out. And we were right near a house that's known to have activity before. So when we heard that, we kind of like, okay, we need to turn around and go back. And that's what we did. But I heard that I guess a grunt or growl. It was a growl. When you hear that, man, you're like, okay, that's just crazy to hear that in person, you know? It did not sound like a bear to me, man. It sounded exactly like what you hear on the Sierra Sounds, that guttural. It was crazy.
And I know you're a sound guy. You've got quite a few sound clips and things like that, and that's really in the Bigfoot world an understudied part of the Bigfoot mystery is sound. Bigfoot makes all kinds of sounds. Like I told you earlier, my family we've got a lot of Native American in our family. We have Cherokee and Shawnee. I have Cherokee on both sides of my family and Shawnee on my dad's side of the family. So I'm big into the Native American stuff when it comes to Sasquatch and things like that. And one of the old Appalachian legends is you don't whistle at night.
Mm-hmm.
And, and it varies throughout different places in Appalachia. You'll hear things like don't whistle at night, don't whistle around a graveyard, things like that. And that's one of the reasons why you hear that is don't whistle at night, that was one of the Cherokee saying because Sasquatch whistles.
Right.
That's one of their calls. They whistle. And you hear that on a lot of different, it's in the Sierra Sounds. You can hear it whistling.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But the Sierra Sounds is interesting. I've actually had the opportunity to kind of candidly speak with Ron Moorhead about the Sierra Sounds. And at one point in the Sierra Sounds, I hear what I think is Proto-English. Like Sasquatch is trying to mimic what the guys in the camp are saying. It sounds to me like right in the midst of these different Bigfoot calls, you kind of hear what sounds like a gruff, what the F from a Sasquatch. And I think, it's a deer camp. They're up in the mountains. They probably had some adult beverages going and things like that. And there's probably some pretty rough language being thrown around. So it would not surprise me that that's something that they heard and then tried to mimic in order to try to communicate with these guys. But I asked Ron, there's one point in the video where they hear a sound and Ron mimics the sound back. And you can hear Bigfoot laughing.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And I asked Ron, I said, when you did that and you heard him laughing, what were you thinking? And he's like, I look back on it now, and he said the worst mistake that I made was I mimicked him. He said I should have just talked to him. He said I think if I'd have just talked to him, that there could have been some type of communication that went on. And that kind of completely blew me away. Now, some of Ron's things, I have a hard time grasping, and look, he can talk way over your head. He's a very intelligent man, very.
Right. Yeah.
But, that kind of hit me on a level because there's Indian legends that says that Sasquatch could speak some native languages. The Cherokee said that there was two versions of Sasquatch. They actually had one that actually learned to speak some Cherokee.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's really interesting that, people hear these different languages. And like you said, it sounded like a native language. And I think that's extremely possible. That may have been things that they heard either recently or in the past that they have kind of adapted into their own forms of communication. This Proto-English or Proto-Native languages or whatever. I'm not exactly sure what tribes would live in your area.
We have so many here, man. I mean, we have a lot of tribes.
Yeah, it's hard.
We got the Salish tribes.
The Salish, yes.
We have so many out here. But you're talking about the whistling earlier. There's those famous Native American masks of the purest lips. Kind of looks like it's whistling. That's there you go. Yeah, exactly. Yep, exactly what I'm talking about. Yep.
That's a Cherokee Indian booger mask.
Exactly.
Puckered lips. She whistles.
Yep. So I think the Native American culture with Bigfoot is very important because that's a historic thing that's telling us that they've been here historically. They've been, the Native Americans have been dealing with them for many years. So I think that's an important historical, cultural thing. And so we really need. Actually, I would like to see more documentaries and things about the Native Americans because I don't think we get to hear about them very much. We mostly hear about a lot of the researchers, but I'd like to see more documentaries about the Native Americans and their history with Sasquatch, like with Kathy Strain that you're talking about with the pictograph that she's finding from 10,000 years ago. I mean, that's all. I think that's very important evidence of them being around for so many years and people interacting with them. And the thing
that particular carving that she found, it was in California.
Yes, right.
And it's almost identical carvings have been found like all the way up into Utah. So they were seeing the same thing. Somebody's not going to carve this in California and then walk to Utah and do it again.
Right. You got all these tribes that are describing the same thing around the country. So how is that possible? You know what I mean? So I think that's very important. It's very important. Very important.
And as a sound guy, what sounds do you look for? What do you look for? What is a good Sasquatch recording from a sound guy?
Well, I really try to look for. I know David Ellis is talking about the fundamentals. There are, like this, like the Bumpy Lake sounds that I got. Like I look for really, in terms of like a vocalization, I look for something that's really off the spectrogram, really loud. I also try to look for footprints, or not footprints. I try to look for bipedal walking on my recorders as well because I camped out a couple weeks ago up in near the Blue Mountains, near where Paul Freeman took his video, not at the exact spot, but in the general area. And we were camped up 7,000 feet up on this mountain ridge. And I kid you not, man, but at 2:30 in the morning, I had something bipedal walk by my tent. And in the morning when we looked, I found a possible footprint like right next to our tent where it walked. And I even caught that on audio. I had a Tascam nearby and it caught that on audio. It sounds like something bipedal walking by my tent, and you can hear it huffing and like breathing really deeply, and it doesn't sound like a person to me. It sounds like an animal, quote unquote, an animal. So, but obviously, what animals walking around bipedally at 2:30 in the morning like that? I don't know. Other than Bigfoot, maybe. But I look for bipedal, like even at night, like late morning hours, I look for bipedal footsteps to see if there's something walking, on my audio, to see if there's something walking around me. Because that does happen. Like, I get these bipedal recordings. And so I try to look for that, because when you get like a deer walking by, it's a little bit different. And especially obviously audibly, you can hear four legs walking, but when you hear something bipedal walking, I try to look for that. And that's happened a few times on my audio recording. So I try to look for that as well. And I also try to look for like talking. Talking's a little bit tougher. You just have to listen. You see it on spectrograph. You just really have to listen and see if it's not a human talking. But, like the talking with the language that we were talking about earlier, I try to look for that, especially in the early morning hours. Because I don't think there's a lot of people walking around during those times at night talking. So I try to look for that, especially in areas where there's no campers. Like I said, at rock camp, I had these recorders behind us up in the woods. So I try to listen for any kind of possible talking that occurs, from those locations in those morning hours. So that's how I do it. And unfortunately, it's very tedious. Listening to audio is very tedious. But thankfully, when you got a spectrogram where you can actually see the waveforms and everything, you can kind of scrub the audio in a way and try to go to those spots. But I do want to say this: there's a lot of sounds that happens in between those loud waveforms. So you kind of have to listen to almost everything, because there's a lot of sounds that you can easily miss just by not seeing it on the spectrograph. Like there's wood knocks. There's a lot of percussion sounds that you can easily miss that are not as loud as other percussion sounds. So you can miss wood knocks easily. And there's also, I also want to mention, I've captured, you're talking about mimicking earlier. We've captured what sounds like a zipper sound, but it sounds like it comes from a mouth, not from actual tent, but it sounds like a zipper vocally being made from a mouth. So I don't know if that's a zipper mimic, or if that's just something that they do in terms of a form of communication, but we caught that a few times on our audio. And we've actually had somebody, you're talking about mimicking too earlier. We actually had somebody at our camp out at rock camp. He yelled, "Woo-ha!" And I swear to you, we captured something up above us mimicking the same "woo-ha," but in a primate kind of a way back at us. And we all heard that in camp, and I caught that on audio, man. It was freaky. It was freaky.
That brings up the thing that happened on an expedition that we was on. Look, I'm the world's biggest thief when it comes to research, and you're doing something that I think makes a lot of sense. I'm going to try to adapt that into my research. Okay. So I'm like the world's biggest thief. I steal stuff from people all the time when it comes to research. If it works, I'm all game. But I had watched it was a documentary about gorillas, and I think it was in the Congo. And these forest rangers would make a clicking noise around the gorillas to help calm the gorillas and let the gorillas know, hey, we are here and all that other stuff. And it's kind of a... So right. I started doing that noise on an expedition that we were doing. So every time that I would go in the woods, every so often I would make that noise. And it's not loud, it's just kind of what it is. So one night at camp, people kept coming back and said, "What was you doing way up on top of that ridge?" And I was like, "What are you talking about?" They said, "We heard you up on top of the ridge." And I was like, "I haven't left base camp. I've been right here all night." They said, "No, dude, we heard that weird noise that you make up there on the ridge." And I was like, "No." And there was like 4 people that heard that popping noise that I make with my mouth.
Wow. In
different places on the same expedition. And I had not been anywhere. I was at base camp that night, monitoring radios and doing things like that. So I wasn't in the woods doing it. That's so funny. Something was copying that popping noise that I was making.
Yeah. I think the mimicking might be again, we're talking about instinct and survival. Because, you hear about them mimicking other animals. Like I've heard the 800-pound owl before, man, and it's definitely not an owl. So maybe there's something survival in terms of mimicking. That's part of their survival, and maybe that's why they do it.
I heard the 800-pound owl, and that was it messed it up. Our common owls here where I live at are barred owls, and they got a really specific call. I'll try to mimic it if I can.
It's really good.
And whatever this was, it started to make an owl call, but it screwed it up. And when it did it, it went, whoo, really deep, really loud.
Right.
And it just, I guess it just decided, hey, I messed it up. I might as well go on through with it. And it went on through with the call, And the guy that was with me was like, what's that? And I was like, an owl. If an owl weighed 800 pounds. So I have heard the 800-pound owl.
Right.
That's crazy that you mentioned that.
It's funny that, and they mess it up. It's like, if it's 800 pounds, you got to hear 800 pounds. You're not going to hear a normal owl. So it's just funny that they try that, right? Thinking they could fool you.
Yeah, and too, we had a call one time on an expedition, and it was kind of the Ohio howlish call.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of really high, then it kind of got low, and it got really high again, and it was like really drawn. It was like 20 seconds. This one scream, this one call, 20 seconds, this one howl.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking to myself, good God, that thing has a huge set of lungs to do that. Okay, that is a lot of air to make a call like that. And that high, and the intensity, and that's something, and I know you've experienced it too, but that's something that you can't relate to somebody unless they have experienced that. You can feel that call. You can feel it in your body. You can feel that call. And I have to be honest with you. I'm a military vet, and I have some PTSD issues and things like that. And when we heard that big call, I could feel like my inside shaking. So now I don't know if that was the intensity of the call, that I could feel it in there. If it was some type of infrasound activity that I could feel that, or maybe, I kind of had that little panic moment.
Yeah.
From the PTSD or whatever, and I felt that. But I felt that. I have had like short grunts, like a gorilla bark almost, and you can feel that. It's like the sound wave hit you, and that's just something you can't explain it. You have to experience it to understand it.
Exactly, man. Yeah, it's tough to explain these to people who haven't experienced it. You just have to,
it is.
You just really have to be out there and you have to experience it for yourself, because you're right. It does shake you. It does shake you, because we're dealing with something with a big, large, lung capacity, big chest, like that. That thing rumbles, man. When it's in your direction, you're gonna feel that. It's like a sonic boom kind of a feeling,
Yeah.
It hits you.
Point.
Yeah.
Good point. And I know you mentioned percussion sounds.
Yes.
What do you look for, like with the tree knocks and percussion sound? Because that's something I think we get pigeonholed in with the word tree knocks, because that's what everybody wants to listen for. But there's more percussion sounds, I think, that they make besides tree knocks. I think there's rock clacking.
Oh, absolutely.
And I'm not 100% for sure. And this may sound weird. Look, this would be something good to discuss. I want your opinion on this.
Okay.
I'm not for sure if tree knocks is really them taking a stick and hitting a tree, or if it might just be like a big chest slap. I have to be honest with you. If you've ever seen a gorilla at the zoo that beats his chest, okay, the sound that it makes is a popping sound. It's not like a human slapping their chest. It is a popping. You hear a popping sound. It is completely different. So what are your thoughts? Do you think that that's a possibility that, instead of hearing like wood knocks and percussion sound that we're hearing might be a chest slap or something similar?
Yeah, I think it actually, you might be hearing a combination of all of that kind of stuff. Even mouth pops. Some people even think maybe there's mouth popping going on. And going real quick back to the whole chest thing, I think these things have a really large chest cavity, and so they are able to make, when they beat their chest, it's gonna make sounds that kind of travel and kind of resonate maybe around, like you'll hear it. You know what I mean? like that popping sound. It's going to make that popping sound that's going to be heard miles away, maybe. So I think it's a combination of things. I think they might even slap trees with. I'm sure they got big hands, right? So I'm sure. They might even be slapping trees and not even just hitting them with a stick or a log or something. They could be doing that too. I don't know. If they find something on the ground, maybe they'll pick it up and whack it with that. I don't know. I think it might be a combination of things. Yeah, and rock clacks. I've heard rock clacks before. I've actually caught that on audio. Little rock taps, things like that. So I think there's just a lot of forms of communication that they use, and maybe they use them in certain situations. Maybe they feel like a tree knock would be too loud, and maybe a chest beat would be softer. I don't know. I maybe it's just whatever they're trying to communicate with each other. They use different methods, different mouth pops, chest beats, whacking of a tree, rock clacking. Maybe it's just different forms of communication for different purposes. There's I've heard the whoops before. I mean, the whoops maybe are. Some people speculate maybe those are females calling in the young ones. Maybe that's what's going on. I don't know. But yeah, no, when I say percussions of wood knocks, I probably shouldn't just say oh, that's what it is. It's a wood knock. But I'm just saying that in general. Like when I look on a spectrograph, a percussion just looks like a vertical line that goes up and down, like a spike. It's basically a spike. And sometimes you can actually see that very well, and other times you can't, because distant ones don't show up as well. If there's like a reply to one, like in the distance. So that's why you kind of have to really listen for it, because you're not always going to see that on the spectrograph. And there's actually
I think you nailed it with the percussion.
I was just going to mention like a lot of the wood knocks or percussion sounds that I've heard. There's always. Not always, but a lot of times there's a vocalization either right before it or right after it sometimes. So I also kind of look for a vocalization, because I've heard that on many times, right before or after a wood knock is made. So, and I really try to, that's the other thing too. There's like a lot of static on my audio. So it's really hard to hear through the static, even when I try to denoise it, because when you try to reduce the noise, you'll sometimes take away the audio, so you have to be really careful about that, because there's audio in there that goes missing when you do that. So I really try to tune in and focus my audio on the environment, and then really listen for these little vocalizations that can happen right between a wood knock, because those do occur, and I can hear it. I hear that on my audio recorders. So
I might be able to help.
Yeah, I didn't mean to interrupt
a little bit.
I'm sorry.
I might be able to help you out with that a little bit.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I might be able to turn you on to a website that you can get some really high quality microphones from. I don't know if you've ever heard of this before or not. KimbroAudio.com. Charles Kimbrough.
No, but I'll definitely write that down. Thank you.
Yeah. High quality microphones. High quality microphones.
Okay. Great.
I've had Charles on the show before. Great guy. Charles Kimbrough. KimbroAudio.com.
Oh, okay.
Excellent, Mike.
I will look into it.
Something too that I kind of wanted to mention and bring up. We mentioned communication, which every creature on this planet communicates. Everything, birds, if it walks, crawls, flies, slithers, swims, whatever, it communicates through sounds of some sort, form, fashion, whatever. But and a lot of people get into this too. Oh, well, Bigfoot communicates. Well, yes, I'm sure it does. And then there's actually language. And when it comes to language, there's a huge gap between language and communication. So what are your thoughts on actual, like, strict Bigfoot language? What do you think about Bigfoot language? What's your thoughts?
I think they're definitely capable of doing it, and if it's Bigfoot that I'm recording on my recorders talking, then they definitely have a language. And the interesting thing about it is a lot of the language that I get is when they're like together, when they're like, maybe if there's a small group, That's when you hear them talking amongst each other. And honestly, a lot of the language that I catch them on recorders, I never hear that in person. It's always being caught on the recorders most of the time. I never really hear that in person. So they're talking in a low way, which is weird because like when you hear them talking on the audio, it sounds like you and I talking like this. But I can't hear any of that in person. So I don't know what's going on. I don't know if they're able to throw their voices around so that I can't hear them with my hearing, but maybe the recorders will pick them up because they're so sensitive, the microphones. But yeah, I definitely think there's a language going on. I like the term primitive native language because it does sound like a native language to me. And I think they have been using it. That's the thing. I do think they might be a type of primate, if you will, but I think they're more of a being that's capable of talking, kind of like how you and I are talking. They have their own language. And I think they're able to speak in sentences and words just like what we're doing. And if they're able to mimic, especially even us, I mean, I know birds, I know crows and parrots can mimic us talking, but I'm just saying if these guys are able to do the same thing, then, they're able to enunciate, they're able to, like even on Ron Moorhead's audio, like you can even hear it sound, it fluctuates like it's asking a question to Ron, like, like when Ron's trying to mimic them, it sounds like they're asking a question. You can hear that inflection in their voice. So I think they're capable of having those kind of types of conversations with each other where they're asking questions and, even getting angry, being emotional. I definitely think it's there. I've captured a lot of examples of possible language on my audio, and it sounds very similar. It sounds like a native language. That's the best way I can really describe it. I can't describe it any further. It sounds more like maybe there's some, I would say there's some primate type sounds mixed in with it. Like there are some grunts and utterances and things like that mixed in with the language, but it's definitely there. It definitely sounds like a primitive native language, if you want to call it that to me. And I do think I think they're capable of it.
It's interesting. When you go into Africa, you have the African Bushmen, the sand people, I think is what they call them.
Yeah.
They actually talk. It's a click language. So they actually have clicks as part of their language. And not only do they have clicks as part of their language, but they also incorporate animal sounds. So like instead of having a word for baboon, they just mimic the sound of a baboon.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And I think that's a possibility, as far as, like you're talking about a primitive style language. And I've got to be honest, I've burnt the Sierra sounds up. I'm glad they're online and you don't have to pay like a lot of money for them because I would be like broke.
Yeah.
I listen to them a lot. And one of the things that I think is funny, the samurai chatter is a big thing that people talk about. Okay. I was actually stationed in Japan in the late 1980s. I spent 360 days on Okinawa. And I'm just going to say that's miserable. Because that island is only like 15 miles long and it's 5 miles wide. And I was there for a year. So I did everything you could do on that island the first 2 months that I was there. And then the rest of the time, it was just boring. But anyway, the language that you hear or the communication or whatever you want to call it in the Sierra sounds that people call the samurai chatter, it does sound like an Asian like language.
Yeah.
It's not just necessarily the noise that it's making, but it's also kind of the inflections. The Japanese, when they speak, they have a really kind of distinct way that they talk.
Yes.
And it kind of makes sense if it is a primitive Asian language that would have been carried over the Bering Sea land bridge and down across the thing. That kind of makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And, when you get into like the languages, you would think that, okay, it's kind of like people. Like I have words that I use here in my hometown in Appalachia because I live in kind of a weird place because I live really close to Kentucky, really close to Tennessee, really close to West Virginia. We have a funny accent where I live at here. You know, everybody talks about how redneck and hillbilly that we sound, or whatever you want to call it. But it's kind of interesting. It's unique to this area.
Mm-hmm.
So you would think that, like, words that I say here, you've never heard of. A good example is a paper bag. What would you call a paper bag?
Paper bag?
Paper bag. Back here, people call it a poke.
A poke?
Yeah, it's a poke.
Poke. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't. I've never heard that before.
And you know, that's an old saying back here. Don't buy a pig in a poke. Don't buy
Poke. Okay.
Yeah, a pig. It's a pig in a paper bag. Pig in a poke.
That's
But
interesting.
you would think that language like that is geographical. You know, things that I say here, you don't say there, or things that you guys might say there, you know, we don't hear back here. But these sounds that we're hearing, like the samurai chatter, the Ohio howl, all these different vocalizations, they're not heard just in specific geographic areas. They're heard all over the United States. All over the United States. What are your thoughts on that? Why are we hearing these sounds instead of it being localized? Why are we hearing them pretty much everywhere?
Well, I was gonna. I mean, before you asked that question, I was thinking, well, I mean, I've said this before in other podcasts, but I kind of think of Sasquatch as like, well, even with your encounter, I was thinking like you kind of think of like the Sasquatch like Native American tribes. Like we have all these different Native American tribes around the country, right?
Mm-hmm.
And well, and you're just talking about people from different sections of the country having different. So I just think the in the land bridge thing, I was exactly thinking of the Asian connection there with the land bridge. Maybe that's where the samurai chatter was coming from, because maybe those specific Sasquatch are descendants of those who came over the land bridge from Asia. So maybe that's why they have that kind of samurai dialect to them. I think maybe I think we have different groups of tribes. I don't know the PC way of saying this, but like I think we might have different tribes of Sasquatch around the country that have come from different continents, and they've actually formed their own types of languages within their own tribes, and maybe some of those tribes have spread around certain parts of the country, and that's why you're hearing the samurai chatter, maybe in California, and then you're hearing it again, you know, somewhere in the South. I don't know, like maybe Missouri or something. Like, or even I don't know if like they report that in Virginia, the samurai chatter. But I'm just saying, maybe those groups of Sasquatch should kind of spread around the country over the years. But I think there's multiple. I personally think we're dealing with multiple. Again, I don't know the PC word, but tribes of Sasquatch around the country. I think that's definitely possible. And I just want to mention the stuff that I've captured on audio in terms of language does not sound like the Sierra sounds at all. It sounds like a native language that you would hear from, like, we have a lot of native tribes here in Washington State. It sounds similar to a native tribe that you would hear them talking around from Washington State. It's like that kind of native talk. It's not like samurai chatter. So that's the thing. So, but by saying that, I'm not saying the Sierra sounds are fake. I'm not saying they're not Sasquatch. I'm just saying, kind of like what we're talking about, we might be dealing with different types of tribes and different types of Sasquatch around the country that have come from different places around the world originally, possibly. So some are gonna sound different in places, and some are gonna sound similar. Maybe because those tribes of Sasquatch have maybe crossed around the country, and some of those groups have stayed in certain areas around the country, and that's why you're hearing that from California and maybe in New York, for example. So I think they travel a lot. I think they travel around the country, and that's why you're getting a diverse, diverse language. I don't know the right words for this, so I'm just saying that's why you're getting all these different types of language occurrences, and not just one type. Like the samurai chatter. I've never heard that. I've never heard the samurai chatter in person or anything like that over here in Washington. So
I've never heard the samurai chatter. But people here in Virginia have reported, hey, I heard the samurai chatter.
Okay.
And I don't know, we hear the mumble. People talk about mumbling.
I've heard that.
We hear that. We hear that here in Virginia quite a bit. But I wonder about the samurai chatter. That's, that's nationwide now. Everybody hears the samurai chatter. And I wonder if that's just because it became so popular with all of these shows and things like that, that people automatically, I hate to say it, but there are people that go in the woods that claim to be researchers that everything that you hear, see, smell, and experience in the woods is Sasquatch.
Yep.
And
Yep.
I think that it may just be a popularized thing myself.
Yep. Samurai chatter. Yeah. Samurai chatter.
Yep.
Exactly. Yeah.
But now the mumble, I can't say that I've ever heard the mumble because I've heard something. Okay. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
That's one of the things, I'm going to go back to Thomas Steinberg here. You stick to the facts, only the facts, follow the facts. You follow the facts, it'll lead you to the truth. And
I agree.
I really don't know what, but it's almost like people talking, but it's like people talking from a long distance, like really far away. And the funny thing about that is I don't hear very well. I've had a lot of damage to my ears. My hearing is horrible. My wife talks to me a whole lot, and all I can do is just kind of smile. And I'm like those penguins on Madagascar, just smile and wave, just smile and wave. But, I hear something, and it's strange because normally I wouldn't be able to hear that, but I can hear it, and it's bizarre. Yeah. It's bizarre. When you're setting up, when do you get your best recordings? When do you think the best time, kind of like the golden hour for recordings is?
Well, we like to call it, we jokingly call it the witching hours. I generally think, a lot of the stuff that I've gotten has been between 2 o'clock and 5 o'clock in the mornings. It can also be earlier, definitely earlier, 10 o'clock, even midnight. But a lot of times is past 1 o'clock, maybe around the 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 a.m. times. And there's also been vocalizations heard and recorded, even like 5 o'clock in the morning, like as the sun is rising. You'll sometimes get that kind of stuff too. But I definitely, from my experience, I'll just say 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, maybe 4 o'clock. But honestly, anytime, I'd say anytime when it gets dark, game is on, man. The game is on when it gets dark. It's like they could be out at any time doing that. Especially with these summer times, which is kind of crazy because here it is almost 8 o'clock my time. The sun is still out. So like even during these summer times, man, when it's still light out, like at 8, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, I mean, you might be hearing stuff during those times because that's when they probably would have been normally active when it's dark out. But since we're in these summer times, when the light's out longer, you might get some earlier activity. But from my experience, I would just say 2 o'clock to maybe 5 o'clock in the morning. That's the witching hours, best times to get stuff on audio. And also, I do think they look for you. They wait for you to really. They listen for your snoring. They listen for your lights to go out. If you're camping out, I think they're watching you do that, and I think they're very cautious. And when they feel like they can come in and walk by your tent, because they're not going to do that right away. They'll wait a while. Then they'll, like I said, at 2:30 in the morning, I had something walk by my tent. So I think they're very precautious. I think they're very cautious, and I think they come in when they feel safe to do so, and not right away. They're not. I think they're opportunists, but they're very patient, and they will come in when they feel like it's safe and right to do so. But yeah,
that's a good point. That's a good point. Here in Virginia, we kind of have, like most of our activity, like you said, is between like 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning until about 4 something, just right before sunrise.
Right.
It's kind of like you said, it's like a magic time. That's when you're going to have activity, vocalizations, wood knocks, whatever you're going to have. That's when you usually have it. And I find that that's usually pretty much the case nationwide too. It's about the same times, which, that kind of leads to the point that they are moving, like you said, at times when human activity is at its least.
Yes. Yes,
So,
I agree.
yeah, that makes a whole lot of sense.
And I think we disrupt that too when people go out at night searching for them.
Mm-hmm.
I really think that disrupts things, and that's one of the things that I don't want to do and I don't like doing. I like the idea of them coming to us. I like the idea of making an atmosphere where they come to us. Like we create something of curiosity and bring them in, because I think that's when I personally think that's how I'm able to get some of these recordings, is when we're doing something in camp, causing curiosity, and they're coming in watching us, as opposed to us going out there with our lights and our guns searching for them, because I don't think they like the idea of being hunted. I don't think they like that. And I personally don't think that's the way to go in terms of Bigfoot research. I think the best thing to do is to have them come to us. Make some curiosity, do human things, act normal, laugh, talk, have kids, laughing, like have some curiosity in camp and have them come to you, as opposed to going out there with their flashlights, with their guns and searching for them, because they don't want to be hunted. I think they've been hunted for many years, and they don't like that. They're supposed to be the apex predator. We're not. So like they're not gonna. You can't hunt the apex predator, man. It's like we haven't been successful at doing that. So I just think in terms of research, people should really try to have them come to you, as opposed to going out there looking for them, because I just don't think that works. And
I've been on the end of each one of those, to where I've physically been out actively trying to search for it, find it, whatever, and then have a curiosity type thing. We had a guy play a saxophone one night at the camp. That was pretty slick. We had some incredible response to I believe it was an angry orangutan. We call blasted an angry orangutan. We had a pretty good response from that. We tried other primate sounds on call blast that didn't do that good, but that angry orangutan really sent something off.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if it was the tone. I don't know if it was just the tone of the orangutan, or if it was putting out some noises that Bigfoot was picking up, but we definitely had a lot of activity right after that.
Oh. What kind of responses did you get from that? I'm just curious.
The night that we had that big howl.
Okay.
We had some what sounds like tree knocks. Like I said, I kind of got my own theory that maybe it's a chest slap, or like you said, maybe they're just slapping a tree. But definitely some like tree knocks.
Okay.
Gosh, I don't remember. It's been quite a while ago. But yeah, we had a lot of activity right after that. A lot of activity.
Well, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say, you mentioned an angry orangutan, so I was wondering if you would get an angry, obviously you would get angry responses to that if you're call blasting some kind of negative, angry, call out there. You know what I mean? You might get something negative in response. Last year at Bumping Lake, real quick. Last year at Bumping Lake, we had a guy in camp. Actually, his name's Kirk Brandenburg from Study Sasquatch. He was with us at Bumping Lake last year, and he played some hyena. He had some hyena calls that he call blasted out. And not so long after that, man, we had a tree fall. Something knocked over. I don't know if it was natural, but we had a big tree fall not soon after those calls were made. So I'm just saying, like, those kind of responses, you got to be careful about that, because like, even if it's something strange like a hyena call, you don't know what kind of responses you might get. So even if people are call blasting Bigfoot sounds back at them, I don't know if that's safe to do, because you don't know what those vocalizations were in the first place. So you might get a really bad response from that. So
I have known people to sound blast the Sierra sounds.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, that's not a good idea, because we don't exactly know what that is.
No. And those weren't happy sounds either.
Yeah, that might be a recipe for a killing right there. You know.
Exactly.
You have to be careful. And I know in my own personal research, like I said, I've never experienced the smell. I've never had, people talk about that quite a bit. I have never experienced the smell. In my own personal encounter, it was close. It was close, and I never smelled anything. And I was just wondering, have you ever experienced anything like the smell or anything like that?
Yeah, I've smelled like a wet dog kind of smell, but then not so much the rotten meat smell that they talk about. But I've really smelled a really wet dog kind of smell, but I don't know if that's a Bigfoot or not. But I mean, that could have been an elk or even a bear for all I know. You know, like a wet elk or something, because they, you know, those are pretty smelly too when you're out there. But no, I've never smelled the rotting meat smell that people say, or the, you know, like the dog feces and rotting meat smell. I've never smelled that. But you know, if there's theories about that, then maybe that's a scent gland, kind of like, you know, gorillas got a scent. I think gorillas got a scent gland under here where they have like a musky smell that they can emit, and maybe that's what the Bigfoot is doing too. Maybe that's their own musky smell that they can emit whenever they, you know, kind of like a skunk or something, I guess, that they can do that at will. And maybe they can, you know, maybe they can turn that on and off. Maybe that's why you don't always smell that when you're out there. Maybe they just do that as a defense mechanism or something. I don't know. Or maybe they don't bathe. Maybe they don't bathe very well either. I don't know. I don't know what their hygiene is. So maybe it's a combination of that. Maybe it's a odor that they emit, or maybe it's just some kind of body odor too. That maybe they're not. Maybe not all of them are clean. I don't know. You know.
Yeah, and I'm gonna be honest with you. You know, I grew up around farm animals pretty much my whole life. Me and my wife here, we've raised cattle, and we've got chickens, and we've got goats and all that. And when you start up our driveway, you drive right by the goat pen. Okay. And with the windows rolled up, you can smell the goats. Okay. We got 3 little young billy goats in there. You can smell the goats. Okay. Goats stink. You can smell them goats coming in. And I think that, you know, that's kind of an interesting thing. Just like you say, you know, maybe that is something that they can turn off and not, you know, but that's scent in animals is a big form of communication too.
True.
You know, and, yeah. So I think that might have something that maybe it's just used at certain times. You know, and like I said, everything now is just conjecture because we're all just guessing.
Yeah.
And you know, that's kind of the premise of the show. Is I like to have people on. You know, we can sit down, we can talk, get things out. You know, talk about different subjects. You know, like the audio. This has been a great conversation about the audio because that's something that we've never really had. We've had Ron Moorhead on the show. It wasn't a really good show because I don't know if Ron's hearing is bad or if his internet wasn't good, but you know, some of the stuff got lost in translation. Oh. But yeah, that's kind of sad. Ron's a great guy. I really like Ron. But anyway, you know, there's so many things that people talk about that you don't really get, you know, this much information on. You know, like you're talking about the 40 hertz and how things look on a spectrogram and how percussion sounds. I love the fact that you said percussion sounds. Yeah. Because, you know, that's something that is, you know, you don't hear bear banging rocks together. No. Okay, that's a really human-like activity. So that's pretty interesting.
Absolutely.
And like, what is your favorite? How do you set up? What is your favorite setup for your recorders and things?
Well, what I like to do is like I'll get one of these guys, these Tascams, and I usually put it in like a little a Ziploc bag, kind of like the bag here. You know, for this guy, I put him in the Ziploc bags because, you know, like it rains here a lot. You know, in Washington State, there's a lot of rain, condensation. So and for those who don't know, these will record just fine in Ziploc bags. You'll get audio just fine with those. So I recommend using Ziploc bags or some kind of thing covering for them because they'll still record, you know, through it. You'll get the sounds just fine right through it. But I usually put these in Ziploc bags, and I use a bungee cord. Let's see. Like I have these little small bungee cords, and I just put these right to a tree. a small enough tree for these to go around, and I just leave them overnight. These guys, unfortunately, will run for 8 hours, usually on battery life. So unless you got a battery pack, unless you can get an external battery pack for these guys, you just gotta, like, I'll have to put these on like for example, like 10 o'clock at night, and just let them run all night. Because if I do it any earlier with these guys, I'm not gonna catch the whole night. So I gotta be kind of really careful and strategic of when I gotta place these out. So, like at 10 o'clock or even later, sometimes I put them out even at midnight and just let them run all night, because I want to get those early morning hours that we were discussing early, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. I want to make sure I catch those hours. And again, I like putting these audio recorders near camp, but away enough from camp where I'm not hearing us talking, but I can maybe capture something, possibly watching us talking, and capturing them on audio. And I'll do that if say like at rock camp, if you're camped down below a hill or some kind of cliff, because I think the Bigfoot, I think they're a high elevation animal. What animal or being? I'll just say being. I think they like to be high up above, like they like high elevations. So I think kind of strategically, like they'll watch you from above, like from a high place, like a safe high place. And so I try to put recorders up in those high places whenever I can, but around near camp, but around camp, because I know they're going to be watching us. So I try to capture them in their spots where I think they're going to be perched and watching you from above. And so that's how I put my recorders. That's how I put my recorders out, honestly, because I think I have to try to think strategically, because these guys are pretty strategic. And and you mentioned like you're in the Marines and you're in the military, like you got to think strategically, and I think you kind of have to do the same with these Sasquatch. So that's how I do that. I just put these on trees and I just let them run overnight, and that's just how I do it. And I was going to mention I usually have multiple recorders too. I have like maybe 3 to 4 recorders around the perimeter of the camp. Because you got to think of all sides. Like these guys could be coming in on multiple sides to the camp, so you got to kind of think strategically there too, not just like one side. You got to kind of think about the spectrum of the camp of where these guys are coming from. So that I just wanted to mention that real quick. Like that's all.
You nailed the question I was going to ask. So are you able to pinpoint where you think a specific sound is coming from?
Yeah. Well, not so much a pinpoint like where the direction of a sound. I just have a feeling of where it could be coming from, or where I just kind of a feeling where I think the Sasquatch will be at when they come in, when they're watching you at camp. I just kind of have a feeling of I have an idea of where they could be. I just have a feeling like if I look at a spot, I'll say, that looks like a good spot where they can maybe sit and watch you from. You know what I mean? Not so much like pinpointing where the sound comes from, because that's kind of hard to do even on the audio. I can't really totally pinpoint where that sound is coming from, because it could be an echo, from a different location. So I can't really pinpoint exactly where that sound is coming from. So I kind of have to, just with my eyes, I kind of have to guess, like, okay, this looks like an interesting spot. Maybe they'll come through this way. Or a game trail. If I see like a game trail, for example, I'll put a recorder right on it or right off the game trail, because I think they follow that. I think they'll follow the game in and out of areas, and I think they'll follow game trails, even human trails in the forest. I think they'll follow that too. So you just gotta think strategically, and again, like the high places. Think of high places around your camp whenever possible, because I think they'll be up there watching you from a high spot. Not all the time, obviously. I know they'll be. I've heard of the crawlers. I know they'll be crawling in the camp and things like that too. But I'm just saying, like strategically, I think they like to watch you from above, in strategic spots. And they're big animals, right? So they can do that. It's easy for them to do that because they're large. They don't have to be so close to you. They can watch you from above because they got that elevation. They got that height. So it's really not for them. I don't think that would be difficult to see everything in camp. So that's why I have to think like them. I have to play them at their game, because it's that survival instinct, man. It's just You have to play them at their game. You gotta kind of think like they do, hopefully.
Yeah, and when you're talking about looking for places like they might be above you, watching down at the camp.
Yeah,
I kind of look for the same thing, an elevated spot where they can be looking for. And the two things that I look for is it's an old military thing, CNC. You got to have cover and concealment. So are they going to be able to be invisible while they're there, and do they have enough cover to make sure that they're invisible while they're there?
exactly.
So yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. You're talking about. And it is really hard to beat them at their own game. It's a difficult thing, simply because that is their living room. Okay, 100%. That is their living room. And if I turn the lights out, this is my little studio right here. Okay, there's all kinds of junk in here. I don't want anybody to see the mess that I have in here. But if something was to happen, then the lights go off in this little studio, I know how to make it to the door without killing myself. And it's the same with them. They know exactly what stuff is, where it's at. That's their living room.
Yeah.
And if they want, I think they go to play, like me and my nephew last year, he was 8 at the time. That's my research assistant. He's 9 now. And he's kind of super fascinated with the whole Sasquatch thing. And I knew a spot last year where in the 80s, some guys that I went to school with had kind of a violent encounter with Sasquatch. He was throwing rocks at them. It was throwing pretty good size, branches and logs at them and things like that. And one guy actually shot at it with a shotgun in order for the other guys to get away. That's how rough it was getting. And I told my nephew, I said, hey, let's go up there and go squatching. And right off the bat, he said, no, how about no? And the next morning, he changed his mind. He's like, yeah, let's go. So we went up there, and he found his first footprint. And it's up a hollow behind an active primitive campground. Now, this is a primitive campground. So there's no electricity. It's just pretty much campfires and all of that.
Right.
And we found it on a trail that ran up this holler. And there's hundreds of spots. I'm sitting there and I'm, after we found the footprint, we backed out and I'm looking, and there's a trail that runs up the ridge. That at the top of that ridge, you can see it, and it's a perfect view of that entire campground.
There you go.
Up on top of that ridge, and it's completely covered with native rhododendrons. And it's just like a big wall in there, and you can see everything, and you're completely covered. So I thought, yeah, it's no wonder there's a track right there.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's like a perfect scenario for them. Yeah. So exactly that's exactly what I think people should be thinking of. That kind of terrain and that kind of scenario.
Yeah.
Having the best advantage. Yeah.
Curiosity thing too, I think plays a lot into it. And, you mentioned like having kids at the camp, and that's one thing that I'm really curious about is Sasquatch's curiosity when it comes to children, because I don't know if it thinks that children are, kind of cool to watch, or if it thinks that children might possibly be delicious, but there's some type of interaction between Sasquatch and kids.
Maybe to some, maybe some Sasquatch, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard
women and children. I would say women and children are good curiosity. I think that's the other thing too I want to mention. Yeah. I recommend more women going to campouts and going squatching, because I actually think having women around is going to attract more activity and more attention. If you just have a bunch of guys around, I think that might be intimidating to the Sasquatch. I don't think they want to mess with a group of guys. If you have a diversity of women and maybe children with your group, you might have a better chance of having activity come into your camp. Because if you just have a bunch of guys in there, man, they're gonna probably think that's some kind of like, the males are gonna want to mess with you. You know what I mean? They don't want to mess with a group of guys. So if you have women and children, that might even, cause curiosity for the female Sasquatch, even maybe for the children's Sasquatch, the juveniles. So that's just something to think about. I think that may be a good attractant for them, you know, to bring in curiosity.
Yeah.
That's just my, I mean, that's just a theory. I don't know for sure, but it's just my thoughts.
And I'm going to tell you, I think it's a solid theory. I really do. Yeah. I think it's a solid theory. Because like I said, there's something about kids. And I've heard a lot of stories too about, you know, Sasquatch coming up and like tapping on a child's window and kind of motioning to them, come on.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard a lot of stories like that. And that kind of unnerves me a little bit. You know, why would they want them to come out to the window? That kind of creeps me a little bit. So,
it might explain some of the missing.
You never know. That's one of those.
It might explain some.
Very well could be. Well, Tristan, I hate to do this, but we've been on here almost 2 hours, man. Well, actually, 2 hours.
It was a great conversation.
It's been a great show.
I appreciate it.
Listen, I really appreciate you coming on, man. This has been a great conversation. I really like talking to you. If you don't mind, can you hang around for just a second after I close the show out? And we'll speak a little bit offline. Something to bring up, guys. We talked to Ronald Penny and the guys from Let's Go Squatching.com, the video game that's out. I just want to let you guys know they're not a sponsor for this show. Okay, I personally signed up and I'm playing this game. And I've played for about a little over a week now. And I have more than paid for my subscription in the things that I have won. As it stands right now, I've picked up at least 3 sweatshirts, a T-shirt. Dude, now I'm going to show you. This is a new hat that I just got in today from Let's Go Squatching.com. I don't know if you guys can see this.
Oh, that's
it
cool.
Is a We the People with Bigfoot holding a firearm and some wicked bottomland camouflage on there.
Nice.
Some killer 250-year anniversary of the United States hoodies from Let's Go Squatching. Guys, if you have the opportunity, I'm telling you, download this game, play this game. It's fun. Get out there with your kids. I haven't found a clue that's led me towards a Squatch yet. Okay, and I've been playing for a little over a week, and I have, like I said, more than paid for the subscription price of it, which is at $14, I think 99 cents a month. I have more than paid for that. If you play the free version, you can still win all of these prizes. The 250-year anniversary of the United States, the Independence Day game that they're playing, has a payout right now of $25,000 if you find that Bigfoot. So it's fun and it's real. Okay, I'm not going to come on here and tell you guys. I'm not going to blow smoke at you guys and lie about a product or lie about a game or anything else for anybody. That's not my character. This is really paying out in real prizes, real merch, and it is fun. It is something to do. So that's just a little, little boost up there for Let's Go Squatching. It's a great game. I've enjoyed it. I appreciate each and every one of you guys for coming on tonight. Do a couple shout outs here real quick. We had some people that come on that like the show so much that they give us some likes. Andy Kilburn, my son Mason Kendrick, Marcus L. Whitt, my wife's cousin, Susan Coleman Tiffany, and Jeffrey Vallet. Appreciate you guys, man. This show is for the listeners. I want to be 100% clear about that. I'll give you guys the best information that I can give you guys and some of the best guests that I can find for you guys. Tristan, you've been an awesome guest, pal. I've really enjoyed you having on the show. Hopefully I can get you back sometime. Maybe if you get some more audio, we can get it downloaded and get it on the show. That would be great.
Well, I'd love to, Gary. That'd be awesome. And thank you for your service. I just want to say that. Thank you so much for your service.
Oh, I appreciate it. Guys, we'll see you all again next week. We have another exciting guest. And until then, you guys keep rocking, and I'll keep squatching. Good night, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of Sasquatch Watch Radio. We are incredibly grateful for our community. Because of you, we've surpassed 6,700 subscribers and continue to grow every day. Our mission here at STEVUR is simple: to provide a platform for honest, down-to-earth discussions about Bigfoot, free from drama and ridicule. If you've enjoyed the show, please help us spread the word. If you're interested in being a guest, you can reach us via our Facebook page, our YouTube channel, or by emailing us at sasquatchwatchradio@gmail.com. Be sure to subscribe to us on YouTube to access our full archive dating back to 2008 and to stay updated on all upcoming episodes. If you've had a sighting or an encounter you'd like to report, let us know. We have a network of researchers across the United States ready to assist. You can now find us on YouTube, Facebook, and Rumble. Please leave us a comment and let us know what topics you'd like to hear next. We'll see you next Monday night at 9 p.m. Eastern. Until then, keep on squatching.